The Iraqi foreign exchange market wrapped up Thursday's trading session with a mixed, but generally stable performance, as the US dollar continued to hover around 153,000 Iraqi dinars per 100 US dollars in the parallel market. According to market observations, the exchange rate in Baghdad's Al-Khifa and Al-Harithia exchanges remained at 153,000 dinars per $100, showing no change from the morning trading session. This steady performance reflected a market that experienced limited volatility throughout the day, despite the normal fluctuations in buying and selling prices across exchange shops in different parts of Iraq. In Baghdad, local exchange shops offered the US dollar for sale at approximately 153,500 dinars per $100, while buying prices stood around 152,500 dinars. Meanwhile, in Erbil, the selling price reached approximately 153,250 dinars per $100, with buying prices recorded near 153,150 dinars. Although these regional differences may appear noticeable, they are common in Iraq's parallel currency market due to varying levels of supply, demand, transportation costs, and local trading conditions. As always, it is important to distinguish between Iraq's official exchange rate and the parallel market rate. The figures discussed throughout this update relate to the unofficial or parallel market where individuals and businesses commonly exchange foreign currency. As of the time of this report, the official exchange rate set by the Central Bank of Iraq has not changed. No official announcement has been made by the Iraqi government or the Central Bank of Iraq regarding any revaluation of the Iraqi dinar or any adjustment to the official exchange rate. This distinction remains essential because discussions across social media and online forums frequently blur the difference between official monetary policy and day-to-day movements in the parallel market. Thursday's trading session demonstrated that the market continues to search for balance following several weeks of moderate fluctuations. The stability seen in Baghdad's main currency exchanges suggests that the market found an equilibrium during the day, with buyers and sellers showing relatively equal levels of activity. Currency dealers generally monitor these exchanges closely because they often provide an early indication of broader market sentiment across the country. The narrow difference between morning and evening trading also suggests that there were no major developments during the day that significantly altered traders' expectations. Foreign exchange markets often respond quickly to economic news, government decisions, political developments, or shifts in international financial conditions. However, Thursday's session appeared relatively calm, allowing exchange rates to remain within a narrow range. One factor influencing Iraq's currency market is the continued demand for US dollars from importers and businesses that rely on foreign goods. Iraq imports a significant portion of its consumer products, machinery, medical equipment, electronics, and industrial materials. Since many international transactions are settled in US dollars, commercial demand for the currency remains consistently high. At the same time, the supply of dollars entering the market depends on several channels, including oil revenues, foreign trade settlements, and the mechanisms established by the Central Bank of Iraq. Because Iraq's economy is heavily dependent on crude oil exports, oil revenues continue to represent the country's primary source of foreign currency. These revenues eventually enter the domestic financial system through government channels and the banking sector. The Central Bank of Iraq continues to play a central role in managing liquidity within the country's financial system. Through its monetary policy tools, the bank seeks to maintain financial stability, support confidence in the Iraqi dinar, and ensure sufficient access to foreign currency for legitimate commercial purposes. Although the parallel market often trades at levels above the official exchange rate, the central bank continues implementing measures designed to improve transparency and strengthen compliance within Iraq's banking sector. In recent years, Iraq has introduced several reforms aimed at modernizing its financial infrastructure. These reforms include expanding electronic payment systems, improving banking compliance procedures, strengthening anti-money laundering standards, and enhancing cooperation with international financial institutions. Many of these efforts are intended to increase confidence in Iraq's banking system while facilitating smoother international financial transactions. Market participants continue to observe these reforms closely because any improvement in banking efficiency can influence the availability of dollars within the domestic market. Easier access to foreign currency through official banking channels may gradually reduce pressure on the parallel market, although this process typically requires time and sustained policy implementation. Another important consideration involves seasonal patterns of currency demand. Businesses often increase their purchases of US dollars when preparing for import shipments, paying foreign suppliers, or meeting contractual obligations. Likewise, consumer demand may rise before holidays or major commercial seasons, contributing to temporary fluctuations in exchange rates. Thursday's relatively stable trading session suggests that current supply and demand conditions remained fairly balanced. While exchange swap rates varied slightly between Baghdad and Erbil, these differences remained within the normal trading range commonly observed across Iraq's currency market. International economic conditions also continue influencing market sentiment. Changes in global interest rates, inflation trends, commodity prices, and energy markets can indirectly affect countries whose economies depend heavily on international trade. Since Iraq's economy remains closely linked to oil exports, developments in global energy markets continue attracting significant attention from investors and policymakers alike. Oil prices represent a particularly important variable because stronger energy revenues generally improve Iraq's foreign currency reserves and fiscal position. Stable oil revenues provide greater financial flexibility for government spending, infrastructure investment, and public sector financing. Conversely, significant declines in oil prices may place additional pressure on government finances over time. Foreign exchange traders frequently monitor international news related to energy markets, geopolitical developments, and global monetary policy because these factors can influence expectations regarding future currency movements. Nevertheless, short-term fluctuations in the parallel market should not automatically be interpreted as indicators of changes in Iraq's official monetary policy. It is also worth noting that exchange rates quoted throughout the day often represent averages gathered from major trading centers. Individual exchange shops may offer slightly different rates depending on local conditions, transaction sizes, customer relationships, and immediate supply availability. Therefore, consumers conducting personal currency exchanges may encounter modest variations from published market averages. Businesses operating across multiple provinces likewise experience small regional differences in exchange costs. Transportation logistics, local demand, and commercial activity all contribute to these variations. The rates observed in Baghdad and Erbil on Thursday illustrate this common feature of Iraq's decentralized currency market. Investors and observers often examine whether the spread between buying and selling prices is widening or narrowing. A relatively stable spread can indicate orderly market conditions, while unusually large spreads sometimes suggest heightened uncertainty or temporary liquidity constraints. Thursday's reported prices indicated that the market continued functioning under generally normal trading conditions. The continued stability in Baghdad's central exchanges may also reflect cautious behavior among traders awaiting additional economic information. Financial markets often pause after periods of increased volatility, allowing participants to reassess expectations before establishing new trading positions. Such periods of consolidation are common across currency markets worldwide. Looking ahead, market participants are likely to continue monitoring several important developments, including banking reforms, government economic policies, oil market performance, and broader regional financial conditions. Each of these factors has the potential to influence confidence within Iraq's foreign exchange market over time. Importantly, fluctuations observed within the parallel market should always be interpreted carefully. Daily movements of several hundred dinars per $100 are not unusual and do not necessarily indicate broader structural changes within Iraq's economy. Exchange rates naturally respond to evolving supply and demand dynamics, commercial activity, and market expectations. Many online discussions continue speculating about possible changes to the Iraqi dinar's value. However, as of the time of the script, there has been no official confirmation from the Central Bank of Iraq or the Iraqi government regarding any revaluation, redenomination, or change to the official exchange rate. Investors and viewers are encouraged to rely on official announcements rather than rumors circulating through social media platforms or unofficial websites. Understanding the distinction between official policy and market speculation remains extremely important. Parallel market movements reflect real trading activity between buyers and sellers, but should not be confused with formal monetary decisions made by Iraqi authorities. The Iraqi banking sector continues progressing through modernization efforts designed to strengthen financial stability and improve international integration. These reforms remain long-term initiatives rather than immediate catalysts for sudden exchange rate adjustments. Their ultimate impact will depend on successful implementation, regulatory compliance, and continued economic development. For businesses engaged in international trade, maintaining awareness of both official and parallel market conditions remains essential for financial planning. Import costs, pricing strategies, and contractual obligations often depend on prevailing exchange rates. Consequently, even relatively modest daily fluctuations can influence operational expenses for companies importing goods into Iraq. Consumers also pay attention to currency movements because exchange rates can indirectly affect prices for imported products, electronics, vehicles, pharmaceuticals, and household goods. While a single day's movement may have limited impact, sustained changes over extended periods can eventually influence retail pricing throughout the economy. Financial analysts generally encourage viewing currency markets through a long-term perspective rather than focusing exclusively on daily fluctuations. Short-term volatility is a normal characteristic of foreign exchange markets worldwide. Broader economic fundamentals, fiscal policy, monetary management, and structural reforms typically play much larger roles in determining long-term currency stability. As Thursday's trading session concluded, the market presented an image of relative stability despite minor regional pricing differences. Baghdad's primary exchanges maintained the same rate observed earlier in the day, while exchange shops in both Baghdad and Erbil continued operating within expected trading ranges. The absence of major price swings suggested that market participants remained cautious, but generally confident in current trading conditions. Going forward, traders, businesses, investors, and observers will likely continue watching daily exchange data alongside official economic announcements for any indications of changing market dynamics. Oil revenues, banking reforms, international financial conditions, and domestic commercial activity will remain among the most closely watched variables influencing Iraq's foreign exchange market. To conclude this update, Thursday's market closed with the US dollar trading around 153,000 Iraqi dinars per $100 in Baghdad's principal exchanges. Local exchange shop prices differed slightly between Baghdad and Erbil, reflecting normal regional market conditions. Most importantly, despite ongoing speculation that often appears online, there has been no official announcement from the Iraqi government or the Central Bank of Iraq regarding any Iraqi dinar revaluation, redenomination, or change to the official exchange rate. The figures discussed throughout this report refer exclusively to parallel market trading conditions and should not be interpreted as evidence of any official monetary policy change. As always, viewers are encouraged to follow verified information released through official government and central bank channels while recognizing that daily market fluctuations are a normal part of foreign exchange trading.